Do your street photos feel like they should be better than they are? It might be a small habit or a detail you're overlooking that's quietly weakening your shots. Here are 5 mistakes that could be holding you back. So let's get into it. This one's easy to overlook, especially in street photography, where everything's moving and you're reacting fast. You find an interesting subject, take the shot, and then later wonder, why doesn't this feel strong? What's usually missing is structure. The composition doesn't hold the frame together. And even a great subject won't necessarily save a photo that feels messy or unbalanced. However, there are a few composition tools that can completely change how your photo looks. The rule of thirds is the classic one. It's not something you have to follow religiously, but placing your subject off center or aligning a key element on one of those intersecting lines can instantly make your image feel more deliberate and naturally draw the viewer's eye. Because of the way I hold the camera, with my disability, it's easy for me to misalign the subject on one of those intersections. So I like to keep the 3x3 grid turned on as an overlay on my camera's LCD as a guide for when the subject is in the frame. Leading lines are another powerful tool. Shadows on the pavement, interesting streets, and even subtle things like implicit elements pointing in the direction of your subject can be used as a leading line. Basically anything that pulls the viewer through the image. Using leading lines can turn a flat frame into something that feels three-dimensional. Then there's layering, which I use all the time. This is where you build depth in the image. Any kind of street element in the foreground, your subject in the middle, and a solid background to tie it all together. But these aren't hard rules, so use a narrow aperture from around f8 to f11 and just get creative. It gives the viewer more to explore and separates a flat shot from something immersive. You can also use light and shadow to shape the image. Sidelight adds depth and drama to your subject and scene. Backlighting can create silhouettes, definition, and add rim lighting to your subjects. And front lighting is the flattest, so I tend to use it when I'm in a rush or the moment's just about to disappear. If you're interested in getting in more depth on light, then check out this video that I'll link up above in the cards right now. But the point is, composition isn't about following the rules. It's about building a frame that supports your subject. The more you think about that while you shoot, the more consistent your results will be. If you're enjoying this, give it a quick like and consider subscribing. It really helps my channel to grow. And if you want more, you can support the channel and get extra stuff too, like my color presets pack, regular presets when they become available, downloadable cheat sheets, video image breakdowns, and even submit your own photos to me for critique. All of this is on my new Patreon, and the link is in the description below. Thank you very much. You spot a great subject, you take the shot, and then later notice a lamppost sticking out of their head. I've lost count of how many photos I've deleted because I didn't stop for half a second to check the background. And that's usually all it takes. Just a quick glance behind your subject before you press the shutter. A good background doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to support the subject, either by adding something interesting or just staying out of the way. Sometimes that's about contrast, placing somebody in front of a brightly lit or darkened wall, and sometimes it's about subtle harmony, like placing your subject in front of a doorway which frames them, or a window, or even just a coloured surface that either blends or pops. Just be mindful of not always capturing your subject in front of doorways, otherwise you'll probably just get a load of similar images. So what you really want to avoid are distracting elements that pull the viewer's eye away. If something in the background is competing for attention, it's probably worth shifting your position by a few inches to clean up the frame. It's one of those small adjustments that makes a big difference. Once you start checking the background before you shoot, your hit rate will improve massively. This isn't just about standing still for 20 minutes. It's also about what happens in the 2 seconds before and after you press the shutter. You see a moment unfolding, raise the camera, and fire too early or too late. This is where patience really matters. It's not just about waiting in the same spot. When you've found the right composition and light, it's about holding the frame just a little bit longer and firing off a few more shots. About 80% of the subjects that I capture, I'm taking extra shots because I've had loads of photos that I've taken that have been half a second too soon or too late, and potentially missed a better version that was just about to happen. So get creative with your framing, wait a bit longer, hit the shutter a few more times, wait for that interesting pose, or for the subject to walk into that shaft of light that you've patiently framed up. Those extra shots can be the difference between almost and nailed it. If you want an easy technique that you can use to put patience into practice, then I will link another video up right now in the cards so that you can check it out when this video is finished. Editing should bring your photo to life. It shouldn't drown it or leave it looking flat. When I first started photography, especially during my landscape photography phase, I used to love going deep with the sliders, until I realised that holding back a bit gives your images more of a natural look that's less like digital art. But over time, I've realised that a good edit just lifts what already is there. It's about enhancing the mood, guiding the eye, and just getting the most out of the light and the tones that you've captured without drawing attention to the edit itself. That doesn't mean your colours have to match reality perfectly. I often go for a more cinematic or stylised look, but I still try to keep the edit balanced, not overcooked. The sweet spot usually comes down to subtlety. Boost the contrast, but don't crush the shadows. Add some colour, but don't let the skin tones go nuclear. Sharpen just enough to bring out texture, not so much that it looks crispy or artificial. And if you're not sure what to aim for, using a preset can be a really helpful starting point, especially if you tweak it to match your style or the mood of the shot. At the end of the day, your edits should feel natural and purposeful, like they're part of the image, not sitting on top of it. This was on my mind when I first started street photography. I thought a good street photo had to be minimalist, clean background, clear subject, ideally walking through some bright light. And sure, those kind of shots are nice when they happen, but if you're always chasing that kind of perfection, you'll just end up skipping over scenes that are actually more interesting. Street photography is messy. It's busy, it's real, and it's lived in. And some of the most powerful images come from leaning into that, not avoiding it. I've taken some of my favourite shots in cluttered streets, crowded spaces, or just weird little corners where nothing really lined up. But the light was good, the subject had presence, and it all just worked. It's actually where all of the best storytelling moments live, in my opinion. The trick is to look for structure inside the chaos. Perhaps there's strong shapes or colours that are drawing your eye. Maybe there's an expression or a gesture or a particular subject that just holds it all together. It doesn't have to be clean, it just has to be intentional. So don't skip a scene because it's not perfect. Some of your most strongest shots might come from embracing the mess. Is there a regular mistake that you used to make in your street photography that you finally moved past? Let me know down below. It might also help somebody watching this too. For more tips, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter. And as I said earlier, if you want monthly help improving your shots, then just head on over to my Patreon. Now watch this video here to learn how projects can take your street photography to the next level. Until we meet again, go forth and create.